Not yet.
Damn.
After you see it yet?
Okay, I see it. Try to engage when you get a chance.
Huh?
I said try to engage anyone that might.
Stephanie thinks she cute. Put your glasses back on.
No, man. Not today.
You know she can.
No, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. All right. 3, 2, 1.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Soul Food Sunday, the Juneteenth weekend edition. What you talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my name is Lisa B, and let's introduce our co-host for today. Go ahead, round robin.
F lover.
Doc B.
Anthony.
Anthony. Okay, so we got our whole crew here today. And so this has been such a wonderful weekend. I think we enjoyed, the love and positivity. Who all went out for Juneteenth? Like went outside and saw other Black people? Everybody? Nobody?
Wasn't on Juneteenth, but took the kid out to some of the, to see the Black Lives Matter. She thought it was a person. So, he was still asking about Black Lives Matter.
When am I gonna meet this Black Lives Matter person?
That I keep hearing about.
Yeah, right.
That's funny as shit, yo.
Yeah. So we did actually, so we went out for the protest actually because my child is a renegade and I can't keep her from it. So I tried to throw up a little bit of salt and be like, well, it was getting real thick. And so I was like, well, I think we missed the opportunity to go down there. It may not be safe. And I was like, and so she got some homegirls who was already, in the thick of it. And so she was
Right.
like, well, and I was like, so, how, unfortunately you can't drive, so you can't get, to where you want to be. And then she came back with a plan and shit. And so I was like, Chrissy Teigen face. So I was like, I guess we gonna both have to go down there then, because I'm not sending. She might make it because she's, she about that life, but nah. And so that day that we went down there, it was her and a homegirl, one of her homegirls, and we got into the city, and it was the same day that that your president wanted to hold the Bible in the air.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So we hit
that day?
She get
Yeah.
maced? Did they mace her?
Huh?
Did she get maced?
Nah.
Gas mask? Gassed?
Nah. So here's what saved us is because we did the march. First of all, I'm too fat to march. Let me tell you that I didn't know that shit. I got to go work out for the revolution because we got off the train and they was marching and shit. And so I was like, look at the universe. The universe brought you what you wanted. So we see this huge, march coming around the corner. And I was like, y'all gonna get in there. And so then we started marching all around and shit. And we kept going and going. And I was like, okay, where the hell are we marching to? We done jumped in somebody else's shit. And then I realized they're going up to the Capitol. And I was like, okay, we got to now, after we done walked around 37 blocks, we now got to go up this damn hill. So I was like, I'm gonna be a couple of steps behind y'all.
Where's the finish line to this race?
So they got up there to the Capitol and and they did their thing up there and they had a huge group and you saw the Humvees going back down to Lafayette Park. So after we was up there a couple of hours and stuff, and I said, okay, we're gonna roll out because the curfew is coming and we getting on the train, so we got to move expeditiously. And so I was like, we're going to walk back down by Lafayette Park or are we going to roll to Union Station? And it was just like the universe said, y'all need to go on and go that way because we went the wrong way. So we ended up being closer to Union Station. So we said, okay, we just going to go to Union Station. But if we'd have walked back down, and this was at 5:30, so by the time we would have got back down to Lafayette Square, it would have been around that time, and who knows, what would have happened. So, yeah.
After dark, things get kind of sketchy.
Yeah. So, but we went out Juneteenth, and Juneteenth was beautiful. It was like Wakanda outside. So, okay. So let's get into our winners and losers. So who wants to start? You want to start, Steph?
Yes, please. Because I missed y'all last week because I really wanted to get into my loser. I got Nancy Pelosi in an orange finger hut suit with some Family Dollar kente cloth on one knee. Shoot me now. I hate it here. It was too much for me. I said, what in the performative fuck? What was that? The caucasity. I am done. All I kept thinking was she was going to jump up and be like, remember the time.
Remember the time.
Now, if she'd hit me with that mic, I'd have been all right, but that shit was trash. I don't know who the hell set up that shoot, but that shit was booty.
Trash. They voted, I heard.
I mean,
heard they did. You didn't think that was in our favor?
He holds the L for that one because they should have known better. I mean, supposedly it was their idea.
Oh, better.
But like you should like why and it took away from. Never mind the bill itself was a watered down version of what we really need.
Right.
You took away from that. You took it you made it even worse.
So distracting.
So yeah, I concur. That was a losing move.
I couldn't get past her Yvonne Goolagong collection of activewear and shit. I'm like,
hey, but she probably products though. That product can take him.
I did not. That was the anti-Wakanda package. That shit was awful.
You are so funny.
It's trash.
They should just go ahead and start tap dancing and shit, man. Like the fucking WB Falls and shit.
So are y'all more mad at her black colleagues who was also in there doing it? Because they wasn't doing it by themselves. They hold the biggest L. And Corey
yes.
To his credit, he said, "Nah, I ain't doing it." So even
he want to indict her as the face of that.
Even he knew Cory Booker's not. He's not. He's not the wokest among us. But he knew, you know what? I'm gonna sit this one out. Y'all go ahead.
That was a smart move on his part.
It's just wrong. It's just wrong.
So Steph, who's your winner?
My winner this week would be all of the K-pop stands that bought up or reserved all the tickets to the Klan rally last night, y'all, and didn't show up. And also the person who created the memes with the fucking stick figures penciled in. Bravo, my friend. The internet is undefeated. God damn it. I laughed for like 3 hours off that shit. Every time I go stick face with a mask, I'm through.
They are the biggest winners to me because I think even without K-pop doing what they did, I don't think that he'd have filled that arena.
Oh yeah, hell no.
I mean, because I'm pretty sure they took a lot of tickets up, but there's a whole lot of other tickets. There was still room in there, and nobody was trying to come in there.
It wasn't.
Right.
So yeah.
And I have to walk it back just a little bit. So it is K-pop, but they only are really saying K-pop because it's the TikTok kids.
Oh,
but
right.
That's not really K-pop. K-pop are really, is a very, specific genre of music and the kids that appreciate that music. But then that would probably mean that people like my kid and the other kids like her weren't involved because they're not K-pop kids. But they still of that generation.
I thought K-pop was a group. So K-pop is not a group. It's a genre.
It's a genre of music, like Korean music.
Yeah, I was thinking about what he was saying. Also, I didn't take it that way. So yes, I do want to be very inclusive and mention all my Gen Z brothers and sisters or churns. Y'all did, and I love it. I'm here for it all day. My inner petty is pleased.
No, they petty was definitely on gangster.
Gangster level petty at such a young age. I applaud you, my friends.
They get it from us. They just learn how to do it. Maybe, Anyway,
they finessed it, as my husband would say.
They absolutely did.
Yeah.
Shaka B, what's up? Winners and losers.
Oh, my loser for the week is Connie.
Who?
Connie. Those who don't know
I'm here for that
Connie,
drag.
Connie is the chairwoman or whatever, the head of the
School board, I think.
school board in Baton Rouge.
Right.
And and my fault for not knowing his brother's name because we need to say his name, but he read her. He read her rights. I mean,
Google
so bad.
that real quick and share your screen. Put it up, y'all. Somebody put it up and share your screen if you can do it.
I don't know how to share the screen shit.
Tap your.
Who we looking for?
Okay, so there was a school board meeting in Baton Rouge, and a black constituent came up and called this lady Connie out. Connie sits on the board, and while they're discussing,
She's head of the board. She's
the
chair.
chair.
She's the chair of the board.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
that makes that
basically-
epic. Oh my
basically-
God.
She basically said what in a nutshell. She said that the issue was them going against General Lee's whatever his Lee. I don't know his first name. I don't fuck his first name.
It
Lee's
was
his
some
last name.
cracker, some
He's a
racist.
cracker, a general in the Confederate Army. He's in the school named after him. So the push is to rename the school, and she said some dumb shit about him. They need to research him and because he was a great guy or whatever, but whatever bullshit. So my man came in there and just read her the riot. She gave him, he ran out his resume of just horrible deeds to humanity.
And it didn't get vulgar or nothing.
You know, he wasn't broke. He was like, he
gathered
politely
her ass. He collected her
put her in
shit.
place, and
He just gave it to her.
yeah, it was bad. Like it was so bad that I felt bad for her. Like, come on, bro.
I'm gonna
Like,
see if I can find it. If I can find it and pull it up, I'm gonna send it to you.
no, it was bad. It wasn't good.
His name is Gary Chambers.
Gary Chambers.
Yeah.
Gary
He
Chambers.
And
He
he just
elected her
posted.
like no other. That was a read for the
put her,
age.
yeah, so bad she had to get
And-
up and leave for a minute.
She
Like,
did
I
leave.
probably went to call the cops because a black man did attack her.
She probably cried and blamed him.
Probably went she did Amy Cooper, like a black man is assaulting me right now.
Oh my God, Amy Cooper. How did I miss her as loser of the week? Did y'all have
Well,
her?
that was a couple weeks ago, but yeah, but
We was off last week.
yeah, it was off because at least
But you know what? For Gary Chambers, though, I just saw an email a tweet that he tweeted a picture of her during the initial conversation about the name change. She was shopping, and they had a
he
picture of
told
her
her that too.
from
That
the
was part.
back.
That was part of the dress.
Played it during his presentation.
That's part of the dress now. He said he told
gathered her.
her.
He like, look, this you sitting over here shopping.
Stopping at Coles.
Shopping at
Like,
Kohl's?
cool. Like not only you shopping on time, but bitch, you cheap. you a bum bitch.
She was getting her summer essentials. Okay, she was
Yeah,
gonna
come
be
on,
cool
go,
ready.
come on now. Like, come on.
Who's
At
your
least-
winner?
So my winner, okay.
No, you can finish your sentence. Finish.
No, never mind. I said just
Because you're gonna be extra more petty. But okay.
yeah, one more petty. My winner of the week is Sheila Buck.
Ah,
So in a world full of Connies, be a Sheila. And that's my message to white
Yep.
women.
boom.
Like,
Yo.
like she went to the Trump rally, the 6,200 man march, and she had on "I Can't Breathe" shirt, and they basically were like, "You can't come in here with that shit because you talking about humanity. We don't talk about humanity."
Not in here.
So she made him expose himself. She got arrested, So like I said, she's not a 53%er.
Yeah,
She's
she took a
47.
hit right there.
You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Sheila Buck. You
Yeah, shout out to white bravery.
Right.
It's
Right.
coming out to work these days.
You all empty. You all finished yours before we even started.
Hey, that's what refills the feel.
Round two.
Yeah.
Okay, so while we got you, while you waiting on your refill, who are your winners and losers?
Yeah. My winners is real quick. Quick shout out to Tyler Perry. I think he something was posted about him paying for Rashad Brooks's funeral, his funeral for his family, and also paying for his kids' education. So I thought it was a noble thing to do. I think we should have some things like that to happen, for the community as a whole. Like, I don't know, pots of money somewhere. I don't know. If we were ever to kind of pool our money like we should, things like that can happen.
Reparations.
To already be taken care of. But I thought it was dope. You know, what I mean, he's done it before, but at the same time, you know, those things kind of have to happen for those families not to have the burden of those financial burdens of you know, school and without their fathers there. That's dope.
Yeah, because we
My,
are using their name and using their like social capital as a part of this movement. And
absolutely.
so to, to leave them the center of it all without any gain is,
Mhm.
is not
Right.
as we're not good stewards if we do that. So
Malpractice.
Correct. Absolutely. Especially with a father not being in the home.
yeah, how about that?
Loser for the day is just recently, you know, me and Shock was talking about earlier. I don't know if the telecommunications companies or whomever is responsible for this COVID-19 push out on everybody's phone. You know what I mean? This is like literally when we thought the mark of the beast was gonna be like a serial number on your neck or something.
Nah, nigga, phone.
Yep.
That's on the phone.
The shit we sign up for. We signed up for it.
All the
Get you a
time
burner. Get a
that.
burner.
Go get your burner phones, man, because they out here. Why? And you know, and me and Shaka was talking. It was like it's the ultimate chess move, man. While we feel like we've taken moves forward, you know, with the rebellion, this protest and stuff like this, and they come around the corner with their bishop and the castle, and you know, they hit us with the tracking app on your phone, because ultimately they're gonna say it's for COVID purposes, but as we know, when industry or government, you know, takes power and resources, they use that shit for everything. So this is only, you know, like, to me, just the first baby step into a larger um dragnet over society as a whole. You know what I mean? So this, I'm not scared easily. When, you know, a lot of it you can kind of laugh off in a sense, because you know it ain't really real until it happens, so to speak. But that shit hit my phone because I looked for it this morning and it wasn't there. And when me and Shaka was talking, I looked at it again and it said COVID-19 logging under your privacies, under your
Yeah.
settings,
You got to
privacy.
Oh, got
search.
Oh,
iPhone?
Mhm.
yeah, I got iPhone. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know about the Androids or whatever, but that to me really makes it hit home that, yo, they making moves out there, and while we
So,
distracted.
so has the 5G conversation completely died off like vape lungs? I mean, where are we with those celebrities?
That's still happening.
What?
That's still
Well, I know that we had, I'm just going through some of the past like media cycles, like the last few months, where we at one point were very heavily speaking about having vape lung and all these vape lung deaths, and then next thing you know, there was a 5G conspiracy, and then these things kind of burn off like cream on
I
the
mean,
coffee. Like, where are did they have? Is it real? Was that not real, or that was just
It's all
I mean,
real.
it's
okay?
all real. It just depends on whether or not we take up the conversation or not.
Okay,
That's exactly right.
okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
because the effects of 5G, there is evidence that, you know, it really has a effect on all living organisms. You know what I'm saying? Whether or not, you know,
We can't rely on the media for nothing. That's basically what I'm surmising from our
I don't think
conversation.
mainstream
Because
media
the
know.
shit that they feed us is only either superficial or only serves the greater agenda of, what's going on over here in the U.S. This is
Yeah,
I
stuff.
mean,
it's
So
all kind of
if we as
natural
like
bait.
regular citizens, we don't know what to
I mean,
trust.
we live in an age and time where discernment is a key. So we shouldn't be dependent on the media for information, especially on matters that are pertinent to our our survival. So the media is what you make it.
Yep.
We everything you need to know about anything is a mere keystrokes away. Like you
Yeah,
gotta have the discernment and the intellectual curiosity to be like, you know what, I want to know what this fucking means. Not what
right.
not what they want me to understand it to be, but what it actually means. And
Exactly.
everybody don't have that gene. Everybody don't have that intellectual curiosity to be like, you know what is
Yeah,
actually the fact. So
correct.
like 5G, that's above my pay grade. I don't know what the fuck. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I don't know what the fuck that shit like the side effects that it means. You know,
Right.
I know that it's a technology that is presumably there for the proprietors to make money off of, to profit.
Yeah.
That's the end goal for any corporation. So
I mean,
go
the
ahead.
basic is just another iteration of, you know, the gigahertz that are able to move through through the sky or whatever, you know, as far as signals go, that allows you to process data, you know, on a multiple, you know, many times faster than we usually get it. But it's also it's also a microwave. You know what I mean? It's microwave. So it's a type of radiation that, you know, on a higher level, but, you know, it has certain effects on living organisms and living cells. So that is the argument that a lot of, you know, people are, you know, on the side of like, this is some bullshit, you know, this shit should not be put out, you know, in the ethos and in the environment, because we're all living organisms, and we're going to be ultimately affected by what we cast out. You know, this is going to be global. It's going to be
and that's logical. That's logical. Like during the dawn of the industrial revolution.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure some people knew that putting like petrochemicals in the water, in the air, they're gonna have some effects. But they looked at the profit margin, and they said, look, you know what? We're gonna make
that's an acceptable risk.
And 5G is no different. So I don't quibble with anybody saying that there's some adverse effects with 5G. But don't tell me that shit causes fucking COVID-19 without bringing some fucking facts or something. Something to back it up. I think too many of us like feel like because we don't understand a certain thing that nobody understands that shit. So we should listen to nobody. Like, and that
doesn't really get a lot of media.
That's narcissistic, really. Like, because I don't understand. Nobody should understand. Like, at some point, you gotta trust somebody.
It's unfortunate that science doesn't get a lot of media, doesn't get a lot of press, unless it's something like that's backing a particular policy or something political. Otherwise, they barely get like 2 seconds worth of like news time on your local news program, you know?
Because people as a society aren't really interested in science because it's not always pretty, right? And so unless it's to support an agenda, and most people don't understand science. So that means that people can say studies say, but they don't know whether they should look at the methodology and say, when you say study says, who is the source of the study, right? And what is their overall agenda? How many people did they study, right? What was the universe of people who they asked this question of? Was it 10 damn people? Was it 100 people? But we know even 400 people aren't really representative of the entire community. You know what I mean? So we have to, but those are
a certain demographic, like that.
Right. So we don't know, and people don't know to ask those questions. So they just see the headline because that's where we are, even though we 7 keystrokes away from an actual answer with a list of sources that you could go through and see which ones are valid and which ones are like bullshit.com, right? Like you can choose a better source and not just mainstream, but a better source. Sometimes like Al Jazeera, for example, I would look at them because that's a global, even though they're still a little progressive and slanted in that way, but there's still a global view of things versus either CNN or Fox, for example, which we know heavily lean one way or the other. So anyway, but to your point, you're right. That's unfortunate that we are trying to learn information, and now we just need to teach people how to sort through information, which leads me to my winners and losers, because misinformation is huge. Like that's just as bad as no information, which is, floating out bad things.
It's worse.
Yes, it's worse because now we create boogeymen, right, that we can't slay, and then people feel hopeless and then they do nothing. When some of these things are just very easy to approach, they're still sinister in terms of, like you said, it's usually putting profit over human human lives, but they're just humans. They're people. And so you can kind of, if you felt that way, rather than it was like 30 things rolled into one ball, and you unpacked it and realized, hey, this is one group of people. Well, we can start to break that down and address each one. So I say that my loser is COINTELPRO type tactics. And I'll tell you why. Because if you've been watching people, and this is me being weird, I'll accept that. So if you've been listening to people across your timeline, all across the country, they've been talking about firecrackers, right? And explosives and fireworks. Have y'all been hearing that?
I actually, yeah. Marlon put a post up there, and that kind of. But go ahead, yeah. But yes, I have heard.
Yeah. Same. And it's everywhere. I mean, it's most major cities, should I say? Because out here in the burbs, like, we peace and quiet still, but in in some of the major cities, it's going down. And so I thought it was just okay. Maybe people are celebrating Juneteenth. Maybe people are preparing for July 4th because it's coming, and so people are buying fireworks and they're using them. But if you look closely, there are a lot more people who are it's almost systematic, right? So it's at certain times of the night, it's keeping people from sleeping. And so you start to wonder if in fact it is a ploy to either create sleep deprivation. That's one thing, to make people really sensitive, or either desensitizing people to that noise, or like, it's a list of things that happens, but it's in the playbook. The playbook is to keep people, to make you have to deal with something that keeps you from being your best and being able to be to think about things, and to just it's a thorn in your side. And there is a woman who wrote a book, and I hate that her name escapes me right now, but she's a Black woman, and she was a award-winning writer, and now she's really into like mind control and stuff like that. And by the end of this session, I'll see if I can remember her name in the book. But the point is that the book was her account. It's a personal account of her getting into it with a neighbor who had a brother who was like high up in like the FBI, or one of those like no name type entities and such. And so they unleashed like all of these little things to try to drive her crazy. And she was just like, oh my goodness. Now, this is a woman who we recognized her art. She was quote unquote, normal. And I'm not saying she doesn't have mental health issues, because I don't know her personally, but I am saying that some of those tactics were tactics that they used against her. And one of them was like that noise thing. So they would come in, people would come in and just open and slam the car door and then drive away. But they would do it like, so often. And it was just so weird to hear her tell some of these like tactics, but it is to kind of drive you. It is a psychological like, yeah. And so I say that that's a loser, because it's happening and people need to kind of think about it. It may not be that, but we might need to start to, to offer our own personal surveillance, because we know that police officers, many of them, are not interested in doing that kind of work anymore. So maybe it could be them, right? Saying that we're going to make you suffer, and who are you going to call? Because we're not going to come and stop stuff like that, so who knows, right? But I'm just saying, pay attention.
Right.
So those are my losers.
Yeah, I mean, the way they're doing it, I guess the door is open for all types of shit they're doing right now. And I think, they're taking this opportunity with what seems like just, the possibility of lawlessness throughout, the nation is possible. I mean, so the authorities, local to the federal level, are using this like Shaka was saying, this is like a 9/11 thing. This is a moment to implement all types of,
nefarious
plans that they've had on the shelf for years. You know what I mean? And so to Lisa's point, yeah, I think, there is a something to, there's there's a, I don't know, something to when you're trying to disrupt the communities, and especially when communities are starting to band together, you're trying to just undermine them in some kind of way. And whether it be the FBI, CIA, all these cats have done this for years. I mean, decades in our community, especially when we're trying to come together and act as a group, as one. So to Lisa's point, totally keep your eyes open for that, because I think they don't want to be made out, they don't want to be seen. You know what I mean? So I think that's a valid point, to kind of keep your eyes open to what's going on in your community, especially locally. So.
And just for the record, her name is Gloria Naylor, and she wrote The Women of Brewster's Place and several other books. And the specific book that I'm talking about is titled 1996. And I just
Booty
learned.
Mob. They got a song about that shit.
Yeah.
I mean, now go finish what you're saying. I'll add after what you say.
Okay, she passed in 2016 at the age of 66, and she had been traveling the country telling people about this mind control stuff that was used on her during that incident that she had with her neighbor over a cat, basically.
What I would add to that is that in reference to you saying COINTELPRO is dead or is the bigger loser, and what I'll say to that is that I think the surveillance state has been turned back on the surveillance state, whereas we can surveil you just like as you surveil us. And no longer can you, we have an opportunity to show and prove, this actually this is what you said, but this is what happened. And I think that's the equilibrium. That's where they're losing, or we have a semblance of equality. But you know what? And that's what's happening with the police. Like we've been saying for years what they've been doing to us. This is not, they've been doing going back.
Is equality still the
60s,
goal?
70s, the 50s, the 40s, go as far as back to slavery. They've been abusing us, and white America has been like, y'all lying, y'all niggas just talking shit, y'all making this shit, y'all putting a race card. Now we got video to show them that no, it's not a race card. This is what they do, and
is equality still the goal?
I mean, it should be. I mean, equity, equity should be the goal. Actually, I mean, equality is like one thing, but equity and human rights, it really is a human rights issue. And it's not just Black people, because whatever's allowed to happen to us can happen to white. It is happening to white people,
and it is,
and that's why they're marching with us.
Yeah, because some of them know that. Look, you know what? Y'all keep fucking around, you're gonna be next, Joey.
Yeah.
So now it's a matter of survival. I mean, because we had it to a fascism. We had it to a fascist state, and the one thing necessary to preserve a fascist state is a police state. Yep. So they getting ahead of it. I mean, so the white folks that you see out there now, they really get. I'm not saying they don't care about us or they're not doing it, because they have empathy for us. But at the end of the day, it's about survival. They know that if we allow this to happen, if we allow this to keep happening, where they can kneel on a nigga neck and just kill him in broad daylight with just smiling hand in the pocket, that means this ain't 1619 where the average white person really thinks a Black person is subhuman. They see that shit. You know what? He's a human being. I'm a human being. Hold up, that could be my fucking neck. You know what I'm saying? And if you look at the data, it is their neck, because they're dying too. Not at the pace that we're dying, but so when you give anybody a free pass to just kill you with impunity, why what the fuck make you difference? If you say something to me, you piss me off, or if you fuck my wife, or if you do anything any number of things, offenses that somebody could take offense to, they can kill you. All they gotta do is have a badge. That's scary. That's a scary ass prospect.
That's completely.
So I'm gonna move into my winner before we move into the larger conversations, and I think that this is really there's so much to talk about. So I'll just say mine quickly. History is the winner, because history is being it's not even being rewritten, it's being rediscovered. And people don't really like it, but I don't care, right? Like, you're gonna have to eat that shit, because if you hadn't lied in the beginning, we wouldn't be unraveling this shit today.
All of
So
this. Yeah.
you know what I mean? So yeah, you told your story your way, and now we have to tell the story the real way.
She
And
worked for 100
unfortunately,
years.
what'd you say?
Now the receipts came through, and the service says
The
you're not
receipts,
the daddy.
receipts.
You're not the daddy of this shit.
I'm holding one envelope in my hand, you know, like one fucking card in my hand, and so now your statues are coming down, your flags are unwanted.
Did you
And
see
if
the
you
one
want
they
that
hung
shit,
last night? Did you see the one they
Another
hung?
whole
I was
statue.
like, yes.
in North Carolina, they did the same thing. And here's
Yeah.
the catch. Yeah, here's the catch. If you'd have told the truth from the beginning, right? And if you had, you have to understand that if it's your heritage, then you got to own all that shit. You don't get to just own the positive platitudes that you put on the plaque. Now we gotta look at it. I think I posted about James Sims, I think it is, who was the father of gynecology, and his statue
Oh, I
was
saw
removed.
that. Oh my God.
Yeah, they moved that shit, and Google Maps still be like, I think it's right there, but it's like you see the platform and there's nothing there,
The
and they
bottom
was
of the
like,
seat.
yeah, it's gone. And so we're taking it down because we don't have to love it. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to love it now. So, but it is performative. So let's move into that conversation about what so what I was going to say is, with the flags and stuff, if people wanted that to really be their heritage, they would not have allowed it to be co-opted by racists, and they ain't say shit that whole time. So if in fact it's not about racism, y'all should have spoke up. Now it's about racism.
Confederate flag and the NASCAR stuff.
I mean, most of those statues were erected during the civil rights period, so it was long after the Confederacy. So it was about
Absolutely.
intimidation. It was about saying, "Look, we still got you niggas." I mean, Jim Crow went forever. So really, it's a losing proposition anyway. You like, because if the same people that are protective of the Confederate history are the same people that say the Democrats created slavery. I mean, so it's a message that you can't. It's counterintuitive. I mean, like it's a losing message to anybody that's trying to make that argument. Like give up, dude. Fuck
So
General Lee.
let's move into our entrees. So we talked about history, we talked about righting the wrongs and retelling the stories. We know that lots of organizations are trying to come out on the right side of history by making statements, of solidarity. What do you guys think about what's happening with all of that stuff, like NASCAR and the corporations who are saying they stand with Black Lives Matter and putting money forward? Is that a good thing, and is it enough?
I mean, it's a good thing, but not enough. It's a good thing in that, I mean, really, all that really signifies is that the black dollar has gotten to the point where they gotta respect it versus the dollar of the people that hate us the most.
Right.
So, I mean, there's the middle, like the whimsical white middle that will go either way. I don't think we overcame them yet. I mean, those are the Karens and Bobs of the world, because they can go either way. They, you can't trust their judgment or where they're gonna fly. But if all the Jethros, the ones that hate us the most, they saying like Nike was one of the first companies to say, "Look, fuck y'all niggas. We with the niggas." You know what I'm saying? We're not dealing with y'all. You know what I'm saying? But more and more companies saying, "Look, you know what? The money power is there. With not just necessarily black people, but it's an intersection of people who don't harbor ill will for no reason. And that's a good thing at the end of the day. It's not enough, and obviously we know they're only doing this because it's about finances and about commerce.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a win. It's saying like we arrived at a certain point in human history. It took us 401 years to get here, but we at a point where at least half of corporate America is saying, you know what, we got respect these niggas. I mean, hopefully it translates to us being on their boards, be more hiring, you know, it translates to more things, more tangible than just us spending money. But it's a good thing.
What about you, Steph?
I really enjoyed seeing. I did have an opportunity to view the Dave Chappelle. I would call it almost a commentary versus a stand-up at 8:46. In relation to current, events within our community, on the heels of George Floyd's death and others, it really, to me, demonstrated the chutzpah of fucking Generation X and our role in the recovery and redemption going forward. I think maybe the last time we talked, I was saying how, this is pre-protest. We hadn't actually hit the ground, for at least for me at that time. I hadn't gone out and about, but it was more to say that Gen Z, they got all the heart, they got all the passion. They're looking for the guidance and they're looking for the wisdom to put them strategically in place to make a deeper impact in society. I think they are more focused on outcomes and impact versus just the performative activities of it. So from there, I'm like, for him to come out and really risk a lot of, I mean, and you could argue with me about this, risk a lot of his credibility with white audiences. He went slam the fuck hard as the way Richard Pryor would go at white people about them white people. Dave Chappelle.
Oh yeah. I mean,
He didn't. There was it. It wasn't even meant to be funny. He actually was like,
it wasn't funny at all.
I'm gonna sit y'all right here for the next
in my yard
minutes, and I'm gonna read your ass,
yard.
and you're gonna sit here and be uncomfortable and sit in that shit.
Right.
And I was like, at first I was like, and then I was like, yes. And he didn't cut no cards. So I really admired that. And by him being, like the living avatar of what I was describing, that I was expecting from people in our generation. The onus is on us to shape what this movement is going to be and give the direction and the marching orders for our younger brothers and sisters.
Yeah, he definitely gave them
one of the things he said that I totally agree with you. One of the things he said that it's just to put a rainbow around it. He said the streets are leading this shit.
Right.
And that shit has so many meanings to me. Like when you say Generation X, what I see is us leading from behind. Like he's saying, look, go ahead and do that shit. Say that shit. And if you do it wrong, I'm gonna say it. If you do it right, I'm gonna say it.
So and we're gonna bail you out because we got money.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that reminds me of not the segue, but J. Cole. I never heard of this no name person, whoever that person is.
Oh, yeah, I gotta look him up too.
I gotta look who she is, but J. Cole's response to her was just like, look, we all in this shit, right? We all in this together. We all in this foxhole. And that's a great way to segue to our the meat of our conversation, which is Black male and female relations. Ooh. I mean, I don't know if Fleecy was here when we were discussing it. We were discussing that tweet where the sister said basically Black women are at war with Black men, just like COVID and white supremacy.
And police brutality.
Which I to this point still think is hyperbole, but I also see some truth in what she was saying. But my point with what J. Cole was saying was like, yo, we all in this shit together. None of us have the elixir for what we're going through. We don't know what's going on. We don't know. We don't have the answer for this shit because it's a complex puzzle. But he said he could do more. But what I saw from just my timeline on the internet, that people like he said something wrong. Like what did he like? I'm still struggling to see like what he said wrong. But
because she didn't address him. That's why.
okay,
So she didn't address him.
I can feel you.
She didn't address him specifically. She made a general comment about rappers in general. Like you hear them saying all this shit, and their whole, lane is around Black empowerment. And where are they?
Hit dogs holler.
No,
yeah. Now we saw. But
in his defense, he said he's not doing. I don't think any of us are doing enough. We just doing
right. But here's the problem.
I think her.
Go ahead, Steph.
I think she took umbrage with the fact that he's basically like, well, if I'm not getting it, school me, nigga. Why I gotta come on? It ain't too many people in my peer group that I'm willing to school at this point. Cause I'm like, I've been alive for a lot of decades at this point. I gotta school you. It's the same shit as when the All Lives Matter people act like they don't fucking get it. And I gotta direct them to my reading list and my book club and shit like that. Like, come the fuck on. It's not like Black people just came out last Christmas. We've been here. Just now knowing this shit, she's offended and he want to come back and say, well, teach me then, Ma. Don't nobody want to hear that shit. A lot of people discredit him, and I hate to go there, but they discredit him because of his lineage. His mom is white, and they just feel that he ain't Black enough to get that shit off the first time.
So, but in my purview, from what I see, he's one of the more conscious contemporary.
He really is.
Which is why people are so fucking mad. They like, nigga, we wrote for you. We thought you understood the plight, and then you come back and asking her to school you.
So she never said his name at all. So she never mentioned him. He just. Oh, I didn't know that.
He fired off at her, and that's why they're saying that of all these egregious ass people who are saying the horrible shit, you found me, the one woman who has a history.
Who is she, by the way? I never heard of her.
Yeah, I'm not as familiar. I'm only tangentially familiar with her work. But of course, now that I've heard her name, I have to.
Is she a rapper?
What name? Got a name. She's a poet. She's a writer. She's an influencer.
So what did she actually say? What was her? What was the salvo? What did she say? Like what started it to be?
I don't really know.
What'd you say?
What was the salvo? What did she actually say? Did she say rappers?
Okay, I'll tell you. I'm gonna look it up. No Name Sweet. I'm gonna look it up right now.
The whole statement that she put in the form of a song or whatever that Cole basically responded to. Now, my question is, is the audience taking what Cole said because he had a response to it?
You gotta come down here
in a more negative context than it really was meant. Because I don't know if he really said anything that was other than
it didn't seem malicious.
Acknowledging some of the things she was saying, as opposed to disagreeing or disparaging anything that she kind of brought forward.
Right.
And so he said himself, like, listen, I don't read, I think, people love Cole because he's able to internalize thought and then create with it. I don't think, and a lot of people have said this, he's not a leader. I don't think he's ever come out as a leader or anything, but he's a thoughtful artist.
Yes, I give him that.
And I think that's the standpoint when he says, well, teach me, Ma. That to me is nothing more than
work with me, like
an invitation to a conversation.
Yeah. But that was almost that. So let me read to you her quote. Her quote said, "Poor Black folks all over the country are putting their bodies on the line in protest for our collective safety, and y'all favorite top-selling rappers not even willing to put a tweet up. Niggas' whole discographies be about Black plight, and they nowhere to be found."
Well, you know what? I feel where he's coming from, like, because he's a nigga.
That's a good point.
Rapper that speaks on the plight. So right. He didn't call him out directly, but he's saying, like, I don't see anything wrong with what he said.
For him to make a whole song, if that was his response to her, that's a bit much.
No, but it was a line in the song. It wasn't the whole song.
That's the accusation. So that's what's controversial, that they're saying that it was made in response to her statement. So it's
now here's what else he said though. Here's what else he said. So I do think that So basically, these are our babies. These are our nieces and nephews. That's who they are to us, right? And I love me some J. Cole. I'm gonna just say that. I know it
Hey,
would tear up his
me too.
brand
Me too.
if I was on if I was like his biggest fan. But my daughter is one of his biggest fans. And so I've taken her to the concert, to see him because I adore him. And to Shaka's point earlier, is that he is one of the few who is really trapped in that lane around conscious rap, and he still offers up good product without the same kind of fanfare that I think other rappers get. You know what I mean?
Okay.
In terms of mainstream, and he stayed consistent and true to his brand. So I'm not, I ain't gonna say never because people can get canceled, but I'm saying I'm not gonna cancel him for this. But I
Get
am gonna say, yeah, I am gonna say that, you know, I would have loved to. I just think let's bring it all the way back around. They need our guidance, right? They need our guidance on how to interact with each other. But back to Shaka's point, we need to fucking learn how to interact with each other because we still struggling from women's pain,
right.
men's, disappointment, and then we're
Trauma
trying
in
to learn how
general.
to,
Trauma in general and specific
yeah, yeah, that we're trying to
relational
articulate.
trauma. Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to articulate, but we don't all have the tools to do it in the best way. And so you couple that with cancel culture, which to me sometimes it is important to cancel a motherfucker, but then sometimes it's also important to give, if anybody gets the benefit of the doubt, it should be us. That we give each other the benefit of the doubt and give ourselves space to kind of learn and do better. But that's something that comes with age and wisdom, that you recognize that we grow into ourselves given our experiences over time, rather than everybody wake up and be completely on the right side of every subject all the time. That's just not going to happen. But I will say that, I saw a video between Nikki Giovanni and James Baldwin. And
You
so if anybody ever gets a chance to look at that, I think it's on
watch the
Soul.
whole thing. It's a beautiful conversation.
I'm
You gotta watch.
gonna check it out.
Yeah, it's so deep because it talks to how this happened. And they had this little one part of it is this exchange where she was just like, basically, like, I'm tired too. Because he said, I'm tired, I'm hurt, I'm traumatized. And she was like, yeah, but I am too. So, like, when you get home, while I only get the pain. Like, sometimes smile for me, because when you go out in the streets and you got to work for them white men, you smile for them motherfuckers, right? So sometimes smile for me, because when you do get home, I'm the one who's nursing you, right? I'm the one who's trying to create peace at home. But if all I get is your anger because you didn't have the space to, to share that outside, then where's the benefit for me? But that was, if you read that to me is back in the like 60s, right? So that starts to talk about how, yes, black men have the boot of society on their neck, and they got to go out and face that every day. And because they're providing for their families, they're not always in a place to be able to fight in the way that makes them feel like they can preserve their humanity and manhood, right? So they come home and then she got to eat it because he mad, like, but Shaka, do you want to give us talk about a little bit more about what you learned from that conversation, and then let's go around, anybody who was able to read up on what Shaka posted and how people responded. Is there anything that resonated more with you or that made you understand a little better than
Resonated
other
me.
comments?
I guess just what I got from the post was that we're talking at each other. Like each one of us is expressing our pain, and nobody's listening. And it's unfortunate because I mean, my purpose for posting it was to be like, this is bullshit. Black men are not at, well. Let's just backtrack. The tweet basically said that black men are at war with black women. Like black women are at war with COVID-19, white supremacy, and black men. And my point is saying, like, come on, like that's hyperbolic. We're not at war with y'all. We don't hate y'all. We love y'all. We have a vested interest in us both being successful. But what happened was black women expressed their pain, all sorts of pain that that range through the gamut of issues, whether it be infidelity, rape, rape culture, spousal abuse, and just everything that woman, any woman has to face. And it was like it felt like it was put on black men, and the black men that responded was like had no empathy of, and didn't see any reason for black women to gripe about the relation.
Anything.
So it's like it's like no empathy. So and what I gather from that is like we don't have empathy as black men. We don't have enough empathy for what our sisters go through. But at the same time, our sisters throw everything. I mean, like the whole kitchen sink. I mean, you can't put everything on. I mean, first of all, part of these issues is patriarchy, and that ain't got nothing to do with black men. That's just men altogether. So I that should be stated. And then when you talk about spousal abuse and rape, yeah, that is a terrible thing that women have to deal with. But not every black man shares that burden. So you throwing everything in on there, and the black men are forced to say, look, and then it's like, are you saying you trying to say you like the case is made is like we sound like white people and saying like not all white people, but you gotta say like if I ain't raped nobody, I ain't raped nobody. You can't put that on me. And most black men don't rape people. I mean most. So to make that out.
But do they subscribe to the idea that
that's another subject. And I totally agree with you on that.
And there are degrees of that. There are degrees of that to which a lot of men, black men, are completely okay with shit. It depends on the context. If we in the club, is yes, I had to grab a bitch on the ass. It's a lot.
No, I totally agree. I'm not
in that.
And
one thing that I noticed from the post was that yes, you put it out there and you asked the women who agreed with the post, and it didn't say war, but it just gave you guys as not necessarily like warriors pitted against us against the battlefield, but sometimes. And I remember there was an article I think last year by one of those guys at VSB, very smart brother,
I remember the article
where they were just like, black men are the white people of black people. Like you guys only want to object to some shit that y'all feel that white people get away with shit. Why we can't get away with it? So it's like you have kind of not you. I mean,
No, I get it.
And there's no absolutes.
I see it.
No absolutes in this because there's assholes of each and every variety and form. I get that, but there are some instances where, especially if you, again, with media programming, you see a lot of black women dying at the hands of their men on some bullshit. Just the violence recently, I mean, and I don't know if it's new. I don't think it's new. Like Will Smith said, it's just now being reported and recorded and stuff. A lot of this stuff was going on in silence for decades and marriages and generations and all of that.
But I'll say to that, to that end, there are even more black men in the morgues at the hands of black men.
All lives matter, right? And that's where I can see where
to that point,
criticism of you that was kind of like you're kind of all lives matter in this shit because we're not saying all. And she
I understand that
brought in a tweet which is 140 characters.
That ain't my point.
You was kind of all lives matter in the shit.
No, I understand that shit, but just like y'all said, all lives matter. Y'all was black on black prominent. Y'all saying like y'all.
Some of your mans was black on black.
No. I'm not gonna offend any of the dudes. I'm not gonna offend any dude. But what I'm saying is the point that the overall point, you're conflating male-female relations with poverty. I mean, these are all the underlying things that go into these incidents that we're talking about. Like they were talking about the dude that hit the girl with the skateboard. Like how is that something that's not intrinsic to black people? That's intrinsic to some ignorant ass nigga. There's some ignorant ass shit.
That's extreme though.
That's very extreme. It was disgusting.
That's fucking extreme. There are so many
it's not an example
of shit that some of y'all are unacceptable, like the shit that y'all share, some of the shit that you allow people to go back and forth with other women on your posts. And no, I don't expect you to put your cape on and battle rap every motherfucker that come at you.
I know, I get it.
I'm
I
not
do battle
expecting
rap.
that. But some shit, it's just like, you know.
Some of that shit disappointed me. Some of that shit really was like, come on, like son, you're not helping me right now. Like so.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I know you
take
recognize that, and I actually know you in real life, so I know.
From that, I took that
Definitely not
a lot
you.
of our brothers.
But if we were to ask the question of why are all men indicted when people make statements like that, because if it's not you doing it, are you fucking stopping it? Are you checking niggas that you know on some greasy shit? Because I know you know some niggas that's on greasy shit.
But niggas don't. Nobody ever told me they raped somebody. Nobody be like, yo, I raped this bitch last
every
night.
fucking time, or is it only for people that you know?
I don't even think it's that, that has to be that extreme to be something that, we should be fighting against. It's those little microaggressions, you know what I'm saying? Like somebody mentioned, squeezing a girl butt in the club. When I first moved up here, started going to the club, it was crazy. How dudes would just kind of fall back, lean on the bar, but as women come through, everybody snatching, grabbing arms, hey miss, and that's just that's on the small level of what men try to do. And that's, of course, that's in public. What are they doing behind closed doors? You know what I mean? And so I think more or less we're talking about, in our community, we're talking about the violence, the violence that Black men, portray on Black women. You know what I'm saying? That type of violence, whether it be, domestic, crime, whatever the case may be. Like y'all said, the guy who hit the girl in the face with the skateboard. There was another young group of guys that dumped the girl in a dumpster somewhere. What was that? It was somewhere, but so
that was in
was
DC.
recording the shit.
That was in DC.
Right. My point being, these were both cases. These were young people. So as we know, as people, we learn. We learn from behavior that we see. You know what I'm saying? And to the point that, where, how should we address it is the same way we want the police departments to address, Black corrupt cops. You know what I'm saying? Same thing Steph was just saying. You know what I'm saying? We got to call out the bad apples. If Black men ain't having for lack of a better way of saying it, a civil war with each other to fucking root out the niggas that's doing the bullshit, then we condoning it. You know what I'm saying? We complicit and so yeah, we gotta police ourselves, you know what I'm saying? And that comes down to, because it's hard too, because as a dude, you sit there and you'll be talking with your dude and he'll say something backwards. You might not say nothing to him, you know what I'm saying? Because y'all just in the midst of the nigga circle. So what goes on, and it goes and it's on every level. Even when I was a kid, 18 years old.
We got close guy friends that, now there could be some stories they telling me, and I gotta stop myself from being like,
the stories go crazy because you could go back to.
I'm talking about single, unmarried men that's living their life and stuff, and some of the things, and there's a new filter now that we're like, okay, 89 and 90, this shit was actually funny. Now I'm like, did we just go to something creepy? What the fuck just happened?
I think that's the key right there. Like 89, 90, like we all grew up, we were reared in the 20th century. We thought like it was a patriarchal century. I mean that was an era of patriarchy. I think we moved into an era where women have more power, more potency. I think a lot of us, Black men and white men, are unable to handle the fact that women have more power. They deserve more respect. And I think there's a learning curve that a lot of brothers are behind on. I don't deny that at all. My only issue, my only umbrella I took with the post was that they liken it to war and they liken it to COVID and white supremacy. When no, we in the same foxhole together. We have issues.
Not though. You shooting us.
We absolutely are.
No, let me just tell you, we in the same war and we in the foxhole together, but y'all kind of shooting us, right? Because what's happening? Let me tell you why. Because I'll tell you a great example. First of all, there was a whole month where women was dying, like 3 women a week was getting shot and murdered by their husbands or their boyfriends. And there was not a national cry for that. We're just getting marches for Brianna, like
They
for
ain't even
her.
arrest nobody for Brianna yet.
I mean, but that has nothing to do with black. That has nothing to do with black men. That has,
No.
but that has
But
more to do
here's
with the fact that
why.
the video. Hold
Here's
on.
what I'm saying. Go ahead.
But that has more to do with the fact that it wasn't recorded. Rashad to record it. My man.
Kareem Gaines was shot with her kid in her hands, and everybody, half the dudes that I know was like, yeah, crazy.
I mean, she was murdered. I mean, and they were wrong for that shit. But I could.
And they gave her $1. They gave her family $1.
But what happened with Sandra Bland? Sandra Bland shit was recorded, and that's why she got way more attention than Gaines.
Y'all didn't tear shit up for her even still. Y'all didn't really take to the streets for her. And I'm gonna just say this. Let me just say this. So first of all, I'm not your adversary and vice versa. And I think that's the part of what we read in some of those comments that men, and I'm not gonna say all men, but some men didn't even read that shit. They just responded. Oh, bitter women, angry women, feminists, white women got y'all, blah, blah, blah. But guess what most of the women said? Most of the women said that in their circles, they know some wonderful men, that they know that you are here, and they feel loved by you.
Not all of them saying that. A lot of them said, y'all hate us.
No, some of them said that. Not all of them.
Not all of them. Niggas hate us.
Just like some of you guys asked, well, what can we do better? Not all of y'all did that, but some of y'all responded like that, right? So there's an opportunity to have that dialogue, and it started to happen. But then what happens is a lot of people came and said, oh, just because you had a bad relationship, we've all had bad relationships, or you let these white women convince you that we the enemy. And it's kind of like, okay, so now you're not even hearing us, and you've already come in and invalidated anything women said. You didn't ask no questions, because that's how you learn, right? You say, okay, hey, this is how you feel. And even if your heart, you disagree, you're supposed to say, well, why do you feel that way? And then we unpack it in a conversation around that. But what happened instead was, it was like, oh, y'all bitter, y'all have bad relationships. And then if you look at the stats though, you know, like some of y'all are harming us. And it's the people who said that they were supposed to love us. And that is happening. And even if we say that we support women in general, we ain't never took to the streets for Black women. Like, I remember there was one woman who was murdered by the police. And I think I got there and it was like 6 people. It was in Baltimore. I got to look up the young lady's name. Unfortunately, there's so many of us all over that we don't even remember everybody's name. But I'm saying that nobody took to the streets for any Black woman. I mean, but we always take to the streets for you. And then here we got your homie on your page. Well, he wasn't on your page, but we was on his page, saying don't trust Black Lives Matter because they want to feminize Black men. And you're like, the ones who came out to fight for you?
I mean, no, I make no excuse for them niggas. Like that was my man. I love him, but I mean, I don't know what he was talking about. And it hurts me to see brothers run with just. I mean, and our inability to be empathetic or see that this issue is intersectional, and that's the biggest no. So I don't have no gripes with that. My only issue is that knowing that, armed with that information, knowing that there's a lot of brothers that just don't get it, to come out with that we at war. I mean, all you're doing is feeding in. And someone made the analogy, and I had to concede to that. The analogy was like defund the police. We don't mean no police at all. So they you know. So I had no choice but to say, you know what, I get it in that sense. Yeah. So they said basically Black men are at war with Black women in the same way as we need to defund the police. So I have no retort to that. So other than to say, okay, I get it. But it just hurts to think that so many sisters feel like we don't love.
It shouldn't hurt to think that the sisters feel like that. It should hurt to think that some people are causing them to feel that way.
It hurts even more. It hurts even more to see brothers so obtuse.
You like people that you look at them as your brothers, and you expect that they carry it like you do and your peers, but all of them don't. And I guess that's painful because that's an indictment of at least some part of yourself.
No, it is. It definitely is. It definitely is.
But we
It's
here for
definitely.
you. We still listen. We still gonna bring it in.
No, I know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
What's the solution?
That's
What's the
true.
next step
It's
Better
more
that we can
dialogue.
take?
It's
Solution. We
continued
gotta
dialogue.
keep having these uncomfortable
Con-
conversations.
Yeah, you gotta have it.
Solution.
You gotta lean into it. And what I would suggest to my brothers is lean in those conversations. Even when you know, even once you say something like, "Y'all, all black men hate black women." Don't take offense to that shit. Lean into the conversation and convince her that you don't hate her. And what I'm seeing, like what I saw there, is niggas unable to convince women that they don't hate them. I'm like that is like
There were some people that made me hate
some,
them from reading their posts.
no, no. I had a nigga tell me he gonna come into August. We gonna fight in August.
Oh, in August, right? We gonna come see you.
Okay, yeah, let's
He
have.
had an appointment.
So I
I'm
can
like really like, and it was, I'm just so disappointed. Like, yeah, how you talking to her like that shit? Like that's not okay. So yeah, so I see it.
his itinerary. That's some gangster shit.
Yeah, so yeah.
Okay, so
Go
go
ahead.
ahead, Anthony. You can close this out of this discussion,
Oh
of
well,
this particular discussion.
I think just first of all, ignore the individuals that if you're talking about timelines and stuff like that, the niggas that ain't really trying to listen, those are not the conversations we need to be having, because they're not gonna be productive, you know what I'm saying? And really, like Shaka said, lean into the conversations that brothers are trying to understand and hear what you're saying, because that's where the progress, that's where the mending is gonna lie. And a real resolution is we gotta those signs when you're driving down the street, if you see something, say something. We gotta do that on a regular basis. We have to make that very consistent, because like Steph was saying, and it really speaks to itself. When something happens to black man, first thing you see is black women out there just fucking raising hell. We honestly got to do the same things on a very consistent level, because women are victims out here, more are outside of our community and inside of our community. You know what I mean? So we gotta do something about cleaning house. Stop letting these criminals and pedophiles and deviants really just kind of be in our. When you got a crew of, I've been in circles of men, when you start hearing them talk, you're like, yo, these niggas is kind of real foul. Talking about if there's grass on the field, let's play kind of shit. You know what I mean? That's leaning to some other shit. You know what I'm saying? So if we're gonna protect our community, we gotta do it in-house first, period. And that has to be something we really make very consistent, because our sisters are watching. They work hard out here, just defending us. You know what I'm saying? Being fodder for, fucking, crazy ass police officers. They standing out there. Not that we ain't out there too, but we need to have an instant reaction when you fuck with a black woman. You know what I'm saying? That means in our community and outside our community. It need to be something. Right. You know what I mean? So that's where I'll stand on that. Yeah. We gotta, but like Shaka said, it starts with those conversations, and we gotta see something. We gotta say something.
Right.
And
I read
I'll just add to that is it's a layered conversation, and I think I don't want to say that. I mean, the brothers are wrong for being reticent to lean the conversation 100% down. But I think when we had this conversation, I think some sisters understand that some of these issues, that the underlying issues, some of them are just patriarchy overall. Some of them are white supremacy, and some of them are just basically like male-female relations. Like you gotta kind of settle some of that shit. You can't just throw everything and say, "We are cheating on us, do this." Like first of all, we cheat on each other. Like so like what I'm seeing in those conversations, they throw everything at it, throw everything on there. And black men are forced to accept all that shit.
Because some of the shit y'all don't do to each other. Y'all kill each other, but y'all not raping each other.
But rape, and those are things, but those are not things
making babies with each other and leaving them. Like
I get that.
She gotta eat all of that.
Yeah, but you can't throw everything at like if I'm a man that has done none of those, if I haven't done, if I only did one of the 10 things you threw at me, how am I going to accept that one? It's hard to accept that because it gotta be a two-way conversation. You gotta be like, And that's all
But
I'm saying. And
I'll say
What if
this,
the
Shaq.
police officer
Please.
says that I didn't beat
I want to hear what
anybody?
Anthony gotta say. I want to hear what you gotta say. What Anthony gotta say?
Yeah, Anthony.
And
Lisa, I'm here for you.
this ain't on no simp. This ain't on no simp shit. But if let's say if the criminals ain't gonna incriminate themselves, right? So the niggas that ain't doing shit ain't gonna necessarily take that blame. So who's left to take it? And we always unload on black women, you know, and the society does as well. So if they are gonna load us up and put that on our shoulders, in a sense, we got to carry it, and then we got to filter it out. We got to start filtering that the
Y'all
conversation.
distribute the uneven portion to niggas that's doing it. You give the rest of the burden to the ones you know, because you're the ones that know. You know who's doing it. You know the niggas it is. You gonna beat their ass down with that. Be like, y'all suck. Stop making it hard for the rest of us. Then it'll work.
So it's like gold, digging for gold. You take that thing and you shift all the shit out. You know what I mean? So eventually we gotta have that. You know, we got the ones that's the ones that want the best for our black women. We're gonna have to shoulder that. You know what I mean? We're gonna have to be on the front lines of that, because the niggas is doing dirt, they ain't gonna take it.
And
You know what I mean?
not. I love y'all. I do. Thank you so much. And I think I said on that same thing that I do know some stand-up men. I do, try to make sure that my daughter is surrounded by them. But some of the young guys in her age range, they making me sad. Like, and I don't know, and it's not just them, but like they are following in the ways of some of us, what we're saying. And I just think that it is time for us. I think it's okay for us to have that conversation. I think it's important for us to be very clear about who is leading that conversation and what the outcome should be, because some people will infuse that. Again, COINTELPRO, right? What do? You make people, we all in solid and shit, marching side by side. And then now we fighting each other and shit and nobody's marching. So we got to be very clear about what is about healing us and what is about dividing us, and being able to talk to it in a way that's intelligent and loving, and then sometimes firm, right? But I think a lot of that conversation, just like we need to help mold young girls and young women into their being, y'all got to get a hold of these dudes. Like, y'all got to, because if we expect good cops to stand up to badass cops, then we got to expect black men to stand up, to bad, to those whose behaviors are not.
I agree. I totally agree. And it ain't just younger dudes. I think there's a lot that we have to unlearn. Like, we were all reared in the 20th century, and a lot of this is 20th century behavior, where where patriarchy was the rule of the day. I mean, patriarchy is dying, and I think what I'm hearing from black women is that they want black men to help kill patriarchy, and I think that's where the conversation needs to steer towards. Where like. And I think a lot of black men don't understand what patriarchy is. I think we don't.
They think it's erasure. They think it's erasure.
Yeah. They think it's like, like things like toxic masculinity. You mentioned that, or feminism to certain black men and brothers that they get like clammed up. Like, nah, that's like the KKK. Like, no, so I agree. I totally agree with that shit. But I just think the conversation should be layered and come in like, because a lot of brothers don't understand what patriarchy is. Because we a lot of us it's so internalized and ingrained in how we've been weird. We think it's like you making us a sissy, and a lot of them, like a lot of these dudes, be like, nah, that's like whole night, like. So I think that has to be part of the conversation. Yeah. But if you make it as it is a black man versus black woman thing, they get confused. They think because. I mean, I hear all you're saying about how black women are the most disrespected, blah, 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 all that. There's truth to that shit. But the black man is the most hated motherfucker in this world. Period. Hands down, bar none. And even some of our women hate us for good reason. So, so when you make the argument to somebody who's oppressed, because black women are more educated black men. You have better jobs, better job prospects. So you tell a black man that shit that you are oppressing us like a white man. I mean, of course he's gonna be defensive, because one, it's not true. We don't have that fucking power. We don't have that will. I mean, so
we don't have that in the house.
in the house. What happened? You spent.
That's where they dying though. They dying in the house.
Yeah, but first of all, every black man is not in the house. So I mean, so I mean, so
they in
Problem.
somebody's house.
there is somebody's house, but a lot of them niggas is powerless. A lot of
they
niggas,
in somebody's house.
yeah, they are. But see, that's what you're saying right here, right? You're conflating feelings with power. The niggas ain't got no fucking power. They in somebody's house. Somebody's fucking. Somebody else called no. Somebody else like everything is
those be the main dudes that had they damn knee on the bitch neck.
I mean, in a physical manner, yes.
Exactly
In a physical manner, yes. But outside of that, outside of the physicality, what do they have? Nothing.
There's a mental mind.
Emotional.
I'm not minimizing that shit at all. I'm not minimizing that at all. What I'm saying is that you telling people that they're oppressing you. You tell the powerless people, niggas that ain't got no fucking power. Like, because most of the dudes that's doing this, that's got the they powerless. They ignorant. They uneducated. They got no fucking money. I mean, so it's all I'm saying is a lot of variables in that.
Keep it in perspective and make it manageable, right? Because if it's too unmanageable, then we won't do anything about it, right?
No,
so
you gotta make it. You gotta make it
down into silos for where maybe it's happening versus what solutions can be. You know, we got to unpack shit, and I get your point around that. So we can't give you all of it and then expect everybody who don't necessarily have the tools to unravel it and fix it. We can give you certain pieces of it that are yours to own and to fix, and then we can keep our eyes on the greater prize, which is really unity between the both of us, because ultimately we do want families, we want thriving communities, we want all of those things that are due us. So I mean, yeah, we got to heal. You know, I understand
the empathy deficit. Like we on our side, we don't get your pain. I'm not saying that with that. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying is that broaching that conversation, you want to be able to make a nigga feel your pain and understand what this landscape. Like
that's asking a lot though. That's asking us to be a damn.
It is, but it's a but here's the thing. You got a black husband.
I'm trying to figure myself out. You want me to figure you out at the same time?
But how much
for you? Like I'm trying to be there for myself. I'm trying to do self-love.
But yourself is ourself. We in this together. It's a difference between like white people or the white man and because they have no vested interest in your survival. We got a vested interest in your survival, just like you got a vested interest in ours. Because we your sons, we your husbands, your brothers, all that shit. So you talk on this shit about black men is black.
We support each and every of those roles, but
and we support y'all too. At the end of the day, it may not seem. I mean, the popular.
Maybe it's skewed because there's a large population of y'all missing.
That's part of it.
Feels like we carry more because it's a whole great.
It's also skewed because we're more often not killed than y'all. Like I get it. Black women are killed too by cops. But we're killed way more often than y'all. So even that argument where you say black women always march for black men, I mean that sounds good, but black men are the ones that get killed more often by cops than black women.
Yeah, but y'all also get a resolution. Our shit just be
we don't get a resolution. I'm
saying that because we march, y'all shit rise to the top. Because y'all don't march for us, our shit be the back end. We be the
marches be
you know what I'm saying? That we gotta stop that.
It's not just black women in those marches though. That's another misnomer. Like
I'm saying just black women. I'm saying that we don't mind. So when they say to y'all, when they say to us, George Floyd was this, he was that. Trayvon. I'm sorry. Tamir was this. All of these people had this background. Mike Brown was this. We be like, eat that shit. We still marching, right? And it seems like we'll do that without condition.
So when Sergeant Brown was killed, we didn't all galvanize about that shit. We wasn't all behind that. I mean,
who was behind it? What did y'all burn down though? I mean, I ain't saying that that's the litmus, but I'm saying that the level of rage. The level of rage that we have for y'all tend to have conditions for us. Y'all tend to wait for the story.
I got something interesting that I'd like to share. So I called like in the wake of George Floyd's murder that was videotaped and televised and everything. So there was a meme, and there was a conversation going around that at some point he called out for his mama, and there were numerous, analyses about what that meant. And there was one that said, when George Floyd called for his mama, all of us came. I ain't never seen nobody say, "Where was Breonna Taylor, daddy? I'm here for you, baby girl." I never seen no sentiment like that. And I'm an avid social media lurker. I look at everything all goddamn day. I didn't see
But
anything
you
near
said
that
George Floyd was
sentiment.
mom.
That just goes to show you how Black women's hearts are and how we do. We willing to come up and be your mama.
I mean,
Ain't
let's
nobody willing to
unpack that.
come up and
I
be
mean,
your daddy unless
George
it's some
Floyd
nasty
was
shit.
recorded.
I ain't even talking about
He
that right
recorded
now.
going for his mama. Breonna Taylor was not recorded. They didn't have a body camera.
I don't care. We know
No,
it
But
happened.
I'm
They
saying,
didn't
but
even write the
that's
shit
what
down. They couldn't even be bothered to pencil that shit into the fucking police report. But nevertheless,
But they white men. What? They don't care about none of us.
She was murdered in her sleep. Ain't nobody jump up and say, "You know what? I'm gonna jump up and be there because your daddy couldn't be there."
Her black boyfriend
her
shot back.
man was there and bust
Her
off
black
back
boyfriend
in
shot back.
fucking
Can
couch.
we get for that?
Her man was there and bust back off of that couch and tried to put his ass.
And we got him out. And we got him out. We got him out. We got him
the one
back
that
on.
made sure his ass got released. And still the man that killed Breonna Taylor in her sleep is still walking the fucking streets.
So black women by themselves.
No, we ain't saying all by ourselves, but where was y'all voice? Where was y'all? If we the point, we y'all counterpoint. I never seen that.
Let me ask you this. How many Black women do you think have been murdered in the last 5 years?
By the cops? Or by 20?
In the last 5 years? Probably more than that.
Yeah.
How many?
1 year alone, the year that Corrine Gaines died, she was the 9th murder.
Black women?
Police that
How many
year.
black men?
Well, more than that. 30. Let me see.
In 5 years?
Yeah.
Look at the case of the young lady who was the activist that got killed, and it was found out that it was by some black dude, some bullshit. What about like stories like that? So yeah, no, it's not always the fucking police, but that's a prime example of there's somebody within your own brotherhood and sisterhood that is looking at you as prey.
No, that I have to say.
That shit is a fucking disgrace. I don't know if somebody gonna come out with a conspiracy theory like, oh yeah, they paid him to do that shit. Nah, man. She was tweeting like, help me. This is what I'm seeing. She was describing like her surroundings and trying to get some help. And this motherfucker killed her and some other woman.
I think we got to be careful not to get too caught up in like the semantics of the conversation, because we'll only create other wedges, you know what I'm saying, to separate us and keep us at odds and keep us arguing about
trying to loosen those wedges. They're already there. We're not creating anything. We're not creating nothing. We're trying to help you guys see our point of view so that you can help us dislodge the wedges. Strong brothers.
I don't know. I think a lot of times we gotta.
I know y'all gonna cut my fucking mic off shortly. But
keep the conversation at a certain level, because it all goes to the same source problem. You know what I mean? If we just talking about, she got killed or she got killed, nobody come out. You know what I mean? That's more argumentative than actually, having a real conversation about, what is our real issue between each other. You know what I mean? And that's where and you guys are right. The real argument, or part of the real argument, is that where's our rage? Where's our outrage? You know what I'm saying? When black women are murdered, whether it be by the police or niggas that look just like us, it got to be something. It got to be, you're looking for a reaction. You're looking for some sort of response in our communities for black women's death that equate to the same thing that black women do. That's it. If we keep the conversation there, everything else will trickle down.
And that's what we said, though. And so there's an argument even when we just say that. So
I'm
you're right.
I'm not arguing. Okay. I'm going to keep the conversation.
Hey, what I say? I didn't argue.
I'm so for like 45 seconds. He ain't saying nothing.
No, but the argument will stay there. I mean, if you follow the thread, it goes to cheating, infidelity, and lying,
everything.
the whole kitchen sink. Like what I'm saying is like, it's some things you could thought like, it's some things like, let's have a conversation, unpack everything. Some things there's an equilibrium.
I applaud you for putting yourself out there like that, because I mean, everybody had their goddamn daggers out.
I mean,
and you handled that very diplomatically, and I appreciate that you were not closed-minded.
I mean, because it's a layered conversation, and I know as a black man, I know through just growing up, a lot of the behaviors that they express, those things that, like, growing up in our culture, hip hop culture, that we want to put it on black. Our culture is hyper masculine. A lot of things like a lot of things that women are saying, that a lot of abuses that black women are saying that they're subject to women, black men are subject to the same violence versus other black men. So I mean, so it's a whole gamut of issues. Like it's hundreds of thousands of black men in the graves right now due to the actions of other black men. So to make it seem like it's a war specifically versus black women, like some of these black men that are harming black women do the same thing to black men.
Harm other black men.
So what I'm saying is it's a larger, it's so much bigger than us versus y'all. There's a deep pathology going on. And if we ignore that shit, then we just deal with just certain facts like black men kill this X amount of black women, we're missing the whole point. So what I'm saying is a whole bunch of underlying factors that we're ignoring just to get to that one point that black men are at war with black women, which is absolutely not true. Like black
at odds. We're at odds.
Yeah, we're definitely at odds. We're definitely at odds. Like you know, hands down. We don't communicate. There's a breakdown in communication. And it's all cloaked, and it's all cloaked. And I hate to blame white supremacy, but it's all, we live in a white supremacist construct. And on top of that,
y'all won't admit that y'all just as brainwashed due to that as
a lot of them are. No, a lot of them admitted it. A lot of them, without saying it, they admitted
feminism and made y'all women separate from us, and we'd be like, okay, relax, because some of us was being harmed. So moving out of that situation was really the better thing for us. I mean, like, but that doesn't mean that we stop valuing black men.
And my point was that we as a, like, what I cop to is we lack empathy. Like we refuse to walk in your shoes.
Okay.
So let me move. No.
Go ahead.
No, that's my point. That was my indictment of us.
Okay. So let's move back to the togetherness in all of this conversation about pandemics, and then we need to close it out. But let's talk about police reform and what's happening now. So just some stats. I'm pulling this from Al Jazeera, and they're pulling these numbers from let me see. I'm gonna say them and then I'll follow back up with the source, right? But there were, between 2013 and 2019, there were 7,600, a little over 7,600 police killings in the United States, right?
Say that again, from when to when?
From 2013 to 2019.
Okay, 6 years.
Okay, and as a result of that, Black Americans are still 2.5 times more likely as white Americans to be shot and killed by police officers. So that means that even though maybe a higher number of white people have been killed by police officers, based on our population in the United States, it's like 13% of the population, and we're over about 25% of police killings, right? And of all of the police killings in 2019, there were only 27 days in 2019 that a cop didn't kill somebody, right? And then finally, this is one that's big. Between 2013 and 2019, 99% of the officers who were responsible for killing someone in the line of duty, 99% went without being charged. No criminal charges. 99%. And that's across everybody, right? But we know that those numbers, again, around disproportionality impact us more. Now, I'm seeing a lot of officers, they're walking off of the job. They're disappointed. Some of the people we know who are officers, who we believe are good people, who try to good things, they feel villainized. They don't feel supported, and they feel like they've sacrificed a lot for their communities. Do we feel like the reform around defund and reform is clear? And is that the right direction? Let's start with you, Anthony.
Um, I think a lot of people get confused about what that even means, defund the police. And of course, you see like from the mainstream, they automatically think that means ain't gonna be no police, and that's crazy. It's just saying, stop funding the militarization of the police. You know what I'm saying? Do something about reforming the unions that allow them to investigate themselves and really break down that blue wall. You know what I'm saying? That they've taken so much time to vote in certain individuals to kind of keep these kind of tyrannical systems in place where which ultimately gives the I can't remember his name, the cop who killed George Floyd, that kind of freedom to just go out and kill somebody and not have no fear that anything was going to happen to him. That didn't happen overnight. You know what I'm saying? So there are mechanisms in place to allow somebody to allow a police officer, the authority, or someone who gets paid by taxpayers' dollars to have that kind of for Shaka's words, tyrannical kind of ability to do to the people that he's supposed to protect and serve. I mean, so I think people just get confused by and I think it's part of the narrative to keep us to keep that those police departments in place to feel like defunding the police is about really getting rid of the police when it's really not. It's about really deconstructing the power that they've come to wield in the sense that allows them this ability to be the judge, jury, and executor on the street.
Break down the budget.
Break down the budget.
Break down that money structure, then you hit them at the core. Because other than that, it's a bunch of lip service. It's a bunch of rap.
Absolutely. So I think we just need some clarity on what that really means, so we can.
I personally looked up the budget of Prince George's County, where I live. I live in PG. Their police budget was $353 million. It's only like 900,000 residents out here. What the fuck are we doing with $353 million of a police budget? The word policing needs to be revisited. It's not saying we don't need police officers. We need to redefine policing.
What that actually means.
What does it mean to police?
What do
if
they do?
Somebody's having a mental health crisis, somebody needs to be able to better evaluate whether or not we need a dude with a gun to come and handle this.
Or what if that person having a mental health problem has a knife, right? Like, do we then just send in? So here's my question:
Does he got a knife? I mean, he might be. Does he have to die? It's got to be main ways to intervene.
That goes
but
back
who
to.
do you send in is my question.
A nigga with a baton, hit him in the head. I mean, it's better than shooting them. I mean, I think defunding the police is more about it's more of an opening salvo to the unions, because that's who controls what the police can do. And if you take the budget out of their hands, I mean, I think the grand strategy in defunding the police, the whole concept, is basically removing them from the negotiating table. Because basically what they negotiate is basically for impunity for their officers to do whatever they want. That's their main goal. Outside of getting them paid, is to have the leeway to do whatever they want and not have to face consequences. So I think defunding the police is just about reimagining how policing works. Like they should not like the FOP should not have a seat at the table when it comes to discussing the health and safety of our community, because they don't care about
policy.
I mean, like so. I think there needs to be an all-out war versus the unions, and defunding the police is part of that war, part of that strategy. Other parts of it should be like ballot initiatives, challenges, class action suits against them, because they definitely they're definitely the cause of a lot of death in our community. So there's I mean, like, a whole lot of mothers that have legit class action suits for their sons and daughters being killed. And I think
Absolutely.
that should be exercised. So I think it should be an all-out, all hands on deck strategy to go against these unions, and the funding them is part of that process. So I'm all for it.
Absolutely. I think it should, and also to add to that, it should be looked at like when a doctor has a malpractice suit. You know what I'm saying? He's in a position of power, a position of, dictating where somebody could potentially live or die. So if he acts out, if that doctor acts outside of, his ability that makes, that causes the death of somebody else, he's liable. There's a malpractice suit and it shouldn't be. And as far as the police, what I'm saying, it shouldn't come out of the taxpayers' dollars, when those incidents are paid out. That should come from their pension or some union fund or something.
They're the ones that gave you
The
the
state
power.
pays for that. Taxpayers pay for that. Nobody goes to jail, but the taxpayers all pay the millions of dollars that families get. Here's one more stat. This is for Maryland between 2010 and 2014, based on the ACLU study. They said that 69% of those who died in a police encounter were Black. 69%. We make up almost about 29% of Maryland's population. 5 Black people died for every one white person who died, right? And then they said 41% of those who died, this is all people, Black and white and natives and everybody, 41% of those who died were not armed with a weapon of any kind. However, the number of unarmed Black people exceeded the total number of all white people who died, whether they were armed or not. The total number of unarmed Black people who died exceeded the total number of all white people, whether they were armed or not. That's disproportionality. Right?
And I was gonna mention that a lot of those murders of white people are because they actually need to be murdered. They were actually fucking posing a threat. Whereas a lot of these Black people that died, they pose
like shooting up churches.
Right.
Oh no.
Oh, and he didn't die.
No.
I'm gonna have him there.
What am I thinking? Oh my God, they would never.
And if you saw some of these videos with some of these white people that are chasing cops down and
be going the fuck off,
everything not to shoot these motherfuckers, these white motherfuckers, yo, it's so crazy. It's like we would have been shot, we would have been murdered out there, and it's like you trying to tell me the mindset is that
they
different?
Don't even let us get smart with them and raise our voice. We can't even fucking raise our Black voice. Be like, hey, you can't even get smart with that. Oh, put your hands up. Sandra Bland was smoking a cigarette real live in her own motherfucking car. How you gonna tell me I can't smoke in my damn car by myself?
You can't be normal.
What? Get out the car. Get out now. Like, really? Are you fucking kidding me right
now? Yeah, but to me, that speaks to the point that we got to start leapfrogging towards a frame of thought that these cops out here is the KKK or some white nationalists, I don't know, agents, if you want to call them that are literally out here to do just what they're doing.
They get some kind of points, they get added some kind of club once they kill them niggas. There's some sort of initiation, right?
Yeah,
more or less a campaign.
Did y'all hear? There was an article about the Minneapolis. I forget his name. The head of their union, police union, and he basically said, he got 3 bodies. I got 3 bodies. All my buddies got bodies. Like he's just. And he was like unabashed by like nothing. Just like that. Like it's a club. Like it's a club for like
badge of honor. It's the Lodge or some shit. Oh my God.
So it's part of the culture, and we gotta like, I think, in order to defeat them, you gotta really go to war with them. You can't be like, you can't pussyfoot it. Like I think the problem with the Democratic Party is or the establishment party itself, they negotiate from the middle as opposed to negotiate from the far end. I mean, because they come from the far right, they go from the far end anyway. They go for the jugular. Yeah. But what we do is we go for the middle. We go for the compromise in the middle. And what ends up happening is we end up somewhere on the wrong side of the issue.
Not far enough.
We shoot him in the leg.
Yeah. So shoot him in the leg.
His name is Lieutenant Bob Kroll. And there are calls for his resignation, but he is not going to resign. And he was just at the 2019 Trump rally. So he You
I
know,
mean,
we know. And they said he allegedly wore a white power patch and made, obviously, racist remarks. But, that's what we tend to allow to happen. And there's usually not very much backlash until this year. I think this year, I think people are doubling down a lot more. I mean, it may be, like you said, it's the concessions are small. To me, I think some of the concessions are performative. Some of them are around the idea of trying to cut their losses before it gets out there, like Uncle Ben and Aunt Jemima, who coincidentally, the people who are sad about it really love the idea that they were such mammy made, the woman was this nurturer, and they don't see how that shit rocks back
That
to the
nurse.
slavery part. Yeah, she made you feel good. She had to, because she would die.
It's
And she,
comfort food. That's his damn shame.
and Uncle Ben, oh, he's so noble. Yeah, as a fucking butler. And then they try to harken the names of those individuals that they just learned today. Oh, Nancy Green, she was a millionaire. Okay, well, there's nothing that substantiates that. But what we can substantiate is that in 2020, she don't have a headstone on her grave. Okay, she was born in a pauper's grave, is what they said. So that's 100 years after her death, and the send off that she got, and they still using her image for free.
I'm making
Right?
millions.
Contract ended in her death.
Free.
So
Say that.
y'all don't care that much.
No, I said,
Care about the wrong shit. Y'all care a lot. Y'all just care about the wrong shit.
Okay. So let's wrap it up a little bit. I think we went over our limit, but I think it's okay. We missed last week, so I think that gives us an opportunity to talk a little bit more about what it is we want. You know who's a winner that I didn't mention? Black businesses, honey. They coming through. You understand?
Yes.
They coming
Juneteenth
through.
was a whole thing. I'm so excited about the support from all of the people who are now. Yes, come through. Show your face, y'all.
Yeah, black banks are seeing an upsurge. Black-owned black companies and their stocks are seeing an upsurge. Black businesses. So more and more are being circulated as alternatives, because while I am always an advocate of working within the system, because it's our system, we pay for that. If our tax dollars weren't going to that shit, then maybe we could just abandon it and not have to deal with it. But because we sponsoring it, I'm not going to pay for my own oppression. So I am going to work within this system to try to change it as much as possible and to get the gains that we need from it. But we also have to be working outside of the system and developing our own, which is something that I think when we integrated, I think it was intentional that we lost it, because we could have kept it. And so some of it was us saying, oh, their ice is colder. And some of it was them diluting us, right? Because if you bring us in at the bottom of your organization, then you can say that we are worth being there, but we still don't have power. I think there are like 4 Black CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, and none of them are Black women. So it's kind of like, like we're not really in the seat of power, but we're in the house, so to speak. And so now I think as we get these organizations who are allegedly open to rethinking about how they interact with Black people, then if we're in that power dynamic needs to shift, because otherwise you ain't saying shit, right? And you see them giving up money, but they kind of saying, we don't give this amount of money to do these things, which is outside of the reparations.
Who's on your board? Who are your community partners?
Yeah.
Are you consistently there for them? Or is this something new in response, just so we don't cancel your ass?
Right. I think we gotta have
Go ahead.
We gotta have a $1 billion, make $1 billion company movement or something. You know what I mean? Because as much as we're gonna try to do things within the system, within the corporate entities that are out there, we need to retreat from the mainstream economy and pour money into businesses that are Black owned, that really do good business, and choose one and be like, make a billionaire company. You know what I mean? Just have something
where we do this in like 10 years. You think that's a doable agenda for 10 years?
I think
Yeah.
it's a
To divest.
for 5 to 10 years. We're $1 trillion economy. You know, the money that we
Be
spend.
receptive as a group to that type of thing.
I
We're
mean,
never gonna.
they ain't changed their name for a reason. They changed for a reason. They changed because our economic power is much greater than it was 10, 15 years ago.
They're trying to hold, and they're trying to hold on.
Not only that is I think our influence, our ability. I think we underestimate our influence on the rest of the country. Like Black Twitter. I mean, they get fired like every day. Like so there's a level of influence. There's we're becoming equal on a scale outside of the mainstream media, like social media wise. We dominating a lot of conversations. A lot of like, even though it's a lot of white folks in the streets talking about Black Lives Matter, they're being led we're leading from behind, and they're leading because these are our opinions. We articulate them, and I'm pretty sure a lot of it is probably temporary. They're not all like all of a sudden woke, but they're getting the message, and they're getting it from us. So I mean, I think there's a style take in that. Look, we are bigger influencers than I think we give ourselves credit for.
Yeah, we don't
drive a lot of the conversation, a lot of the change.
That was proven when we had the Snoop jail saga.
Yeah.
Well, he's quite influential. Although I'm not sure quite what towards. You know, there was something about, you know, his son is now a model, and he's modeling and channeling a little Richard and Prince and things, and so we need to check back in with Uncle Snoop maybe next week.
Okay.
You a problem.
Let me know about that one.
So with that in mind, happy Juneteenth weekend to everybody. Are we gonna make that a national holiday?
Every year from here on out, we're gonna party.
Gotta be. Hey, we gotta get up on the conversation about some of the sports entities that are starting to have conversation amongst themselves about, you know, maybe canceling out seasons. The NBA, there's a little conversation about the NFL talking about it. Small conversations, but they are starting to gain some momentum and traction. And also the tech that the NBA is trying to put on some of the players to kind of combat the COVID situation with them restarting the season in the playoffs, that they're going to be in this bubble in Orlando, but they're giving them they're trying to give them these rings that almost act like invisible fences or something, that they won't be able to be in a certain distance from. It's weird. So I'm gonna dig into that a little more details, but it's crazy because it's like it's definitely them rolling out tech, tracking tech, control tech, or whatever you want to call it, and it's marketing, for society as a whole. If we give it to these NBA players, then we can roll it out to the rest of society. Again, that's my conspiracy hat talking, but it's definitely a worthy conversation because it's happening out there. So got to get on that next time.
Definitely.
All right.
Like dig deep in that one.
Yeah, buddy.
Okay. Well, signing off, we have Anthony, Shaka, Steph Lever, and Lisa B. So until next Soul Food Sunday, we'll catch you next time.
Y'all be safe.
Appreciate you. Y'all got the fish over there, Steph?
Yeah, we got kitchen. We got the grill going finally. So y'all
got fish.
Yeah, we got fish. We got crabs.
Man, I'm about to come to
fish.
I'm about to come to it there.
All right, come see.
All right.
All right, y'all be easy.
Y'all be easy.